Carmen.
Thank you for having me.
You have a lot of titles to your name.
Yeah. It's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah, so you're a busy guy, in and out of town constantly.
Yes, I travel an awful lot.
Will you tell us what your first instrument was that you played?
Drums.
You're a drummer.
I'm a drummer. That was first.
And did you play in a band or?
My mother was a piano teacher, and she was the music teacher in school, in the church, and the organist as well. So I was always around piano and organ. Been to a lot of weddings and a lot of funerals in my life. I can remember growing up.
Did you have to play them?
No, I was playing the organ, playing my cars, or playing building blocks or something.
Where did that lead you? Did you continue on playing drums as you got older?
Yeah, I was very fortunate to be kind of a gifted drummer as a kid. So, I mean, I say that because I wasn't really trained. So I was just very fortunate that it came to me very easily. And I was in bands and school bands, and I went to a point, and then I just wanted to be a pro baseball player. Yeah. So that was my passion. And so I said, I'm going to fade away with music. Did baseball as far as I could. And then I realized once you get to a level, everybody's really good, and then your stats don't lie. Then decided to go back to music, but I didn't want to be a musician anymore at that point in my life. I wanted to do something more behind the scenes, like producing and engineering, and learn. So then I went to a school in San Francisco. Before there were really these big, recording schools.
Which school?
It was called College of the Recording Arts.
Oh, okay.
So then I moved to Los Angeles. I had $1,000, and I just packed my car and I moved, and worked at a studio.
Westlake Studios?
Westlake
was
Studios,
that your introduction to Westlake
That was
Studios?
my introduction, and this was 1984, so it was a much different time period, so there was no place to, get your hands wet. Like now, people are making records on their iPhones and their laptops and backseats of their car, wherever they can make music. Where then you had to be in a real studio, and like reverbs were like $10,000. I mean, you couldn't do it unassisted. You had to do it, with people, with the big studios. I was the janitor in the morning, then I was the runner during the day, and then I would often stay quite late at night and learn from the musicians or producers or engineers or technicians a lot as well, and just get my hands wet. And sometimes I'd sleep at the studio, and that's really was my education. And I made sure that I was focused.
And what made you feel so connected to the tech aspect of music?
Sure. For me, I'm a geek. At the end of the day, I'm a nerd, and like a lot of musicians are, you're turned on by technology because you really can't escape technology, especially nowadays, if you're making music in any fashion. I have to say, for any of us, you have to have some sort of angle that someone else doesn't have. So there's, especially if you want to get into producing, there's producer songwriters, there's producer engineers, there's producer programmers. You could go down the list. When I was an assistant engineer at a couple of studios in Hollywood, which didn't take me very long, I ended up working for a musician called John Barnes. And John Barnes was a really top session player. And John was very into technology. So he had a synclavier, he had a Fairlight, he had all these samplers that were really hard to get a hold of. And so I knew all of this technology. And then by the time I got to work with Trevor Horn, I was so far advanced of technology, I knew a Euphonics console, and he had one.
Oh, that's cool.
And when he knew I had one, that was my in. And then once I was in, it's up to you to kind of swim through.
How important do you think that schooling, though, was for you prior to that hands-on?
I think education is important, obviously. And I think schooling is important for any of us. But I have to say, I've had many interns and many assistants work for me. And yes, some came from Berkeley or USC or SAE or go down the list of all the great schools. But at the end of the day, you're going to know, is this kid a hot shot or not?
Right. I wanted to ask you, too, a little bit, because you did sit on the Grammy board. What year did you sit on the Grammy board?
I was very involved with NARAS for many years. I still am involved a little bit. I was a trustee. I was a governor. I realized that there wasn't an album category for electronic music. So it was a single kind of driven category. So I said, why isn't there an album category? It took me 4 years, and then I got in my friends like Jason Bentley and BT and Junkie XL and Oakenfold and just a whole various arsenal of really good people, and got it to the point where I was allowed to present it in front of the trustees, and it passed. So I'm very, very proud of. There's an album category.
So what's happening now? You're working with Native Instruments in a
yeah.
capacity as their artist relations?
Yeah, I head up artist relations for North America. It's a great company, a great group of people. It's a great job, and they're very flexible with me. They allow me to make records and do shows. And to me, I look at it as kind of inspiring because I'm still making records. I'd like to think, in the mix. So when I'm interacting with other people, many of them are my friends, I'm not out of the game. And I think sometimes people in that position are retired, or they're slowed down, or they're not really aware. And it's no disrespect to anyone else, but I'd like to think, because the NI brand is so much in everyone's daily work, like everybody, it seems, who makes music in some capacity uses NI gear.
What direction do you want to see the music industry go in? What do you want to see happen regarding just profitability in general for artists and the financial paradigm?
I just hope that it comes back to a point where people who make music can make a living from it, because I think what's happening is that it's extreme. It's either people that are struggling making music, they have day jobs, they don't make a living making music, or they make a living touring if they're successfully to tour. Because people have this myth that hit the road, it's not that profitable. It's a very hard lifestyle. Not everybody makes money on the road, but in theory, there is a way to make money on the road. But I would just hope that it got to a point where people, mainly the audience, have better value for music. People will steal music, they will steal software, but they'll pay for knowledge, I find. That's very interesting. They will pay for knowledge. So they will steal the song, or say, I didn't want to buy that, but I'll take that $5 latte.
What is the best piece of advice you've ever been given in this business?
And I don't even know who might have told me this, but I often say, you have to move sideways to move forwards, and I think people tend to forget that. Putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation, sometimes good things come from it. And I think that some people get lost in their vision of, like, I need to go there, and I'm going right there, as opposed to going around the back door, swimming around. And I know it's kind of simple advice, but I just think we have to remind ourselves of that. And then I think another bit of advice that I was always given is, where people would say to you, you're just okay at a lot of things, but you're not great at one thing. And that's something else to remind ourselves about focus and say, what do you do really well, and master that craft and do it well. Because I think in the climate that we're all in, we're forced to do so many different things that we forget what we're really good at. You know what I mean? And I don't know who said that.
Maybe it was you.
Maybe it was me.
What is next for you besides, all the things you're doing? Are you recording anything right now?
I still produce records for various people, occasional remix, but it's really, people call me more to collaborate on projects. Then I've got a side project called Libella, which is this beautiful, ambient, luscious, dark project with my friend Joel Shear that we're doing.
That's amazing. Yeah. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Allison.
Oh, you're welcome. It's a pleasure.
Well, I really enjoyed it.
Thank you to Carmen Rizzo, and look for upcoming episodes of Musicianship.